What happens when a leader's heart is torn between doing what seems right and what feels compassionate? Can duty and empathy walk hand in hand, or must one always yield to the other? Welcome to GitaSahasram. In the bustling corridors of a modern corporate office, Dev walked slowly towards his cabin. His shoulders felt heavy, not from work, but from the weight of decisions that seemed to have no perfect answers. As a team leader, he had always believed that leadership was about making tough choices. But today, something felt different. Dev's team had been underperforming for months. His manager, Vikram, had made it clear either the team delivers results or heads would roll. But Dev knew something Vikram didn't. His team member, Priya, was going through a difficult divorce, and Rohit was caring for his ailing mother. How could he push them when they were already struggling? That evening, Dev sat in his small meditation corner at home, a place where he often sought answers. He lit a small diya and closed his eyes, remembering the stories his grandmother used to tell him about Yudhishthira, the righteous king who always chose dharma over convenience. Yudhishthira, the eldest Pandav, was known as Dharmaraja, the king of righteousness. Even in the darkest moments, he never compromised on what was right. Dev wondered, what would Yudhishthira do in my situation? How would he balance duty to the organization with compassion for his people? In the Mahabharata, Yudhishthira faced countless dilemmas where personal feelings conflicted with royal duties. Yet he discovered something profound. True leadership wasn't about choosing between dharma and compassion, but about finding the dharmic way to be compassionate. Dev remembered how Yudhishthira, even when faced with the gain of dice that would cost him everything, chose to honor his word. Not because it was easy, but because righteousness demanded it. But Yudhishthira's dharma was never cold or heartless, it was always rooted in love for his people. As Dev reflected deeper, he realized that Krishna's teaching to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra held the key. When Arjuna was paralyzed by the thought of fighting his own family, Krishna didn't ask him to abandon compassion. Instead, he showed him how to act with both duty and love. Krishna's words echoed in Dev's mind, "You have the right to perform your actions, but never to the fruits of action. Do not let the fruits of action be your motive, but do not be attached to inaction either." This was Karma Yoga, the path of selfless action. Dev understood. His dharma as a leader wasn't just to achieve targets, it was to uplift his team while fulfilling his responsibilities. He didn't have to choose between being kind and being effective. He could be both. The next morning, Dev walked into the office with renewed purpose. Instead of delivering ultimatums, he decided to have honest conversations with each team member. He would understand their challenges first, then work together to find solutions. When Dev met Priya, he didn't just ask about her work performance. He asked about her well-being. "Priya, I know you are going through a difficult time. How can we adjust your workload so you can manage both your personal situation and contribute effectively to the team?" Priya's eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but of relief. For the first time in months, she felt heard and supported. "Dev, I've been so worried about losing my job. Thank you for understanding." Together, they crafted a plan that allowed her to work flexible hours while maintaining her contributions. Similarly, when Dev approached Rohit about his mother's health, he discovered that Rohit had been working late nights to compensate for time spent at the hospital. Instead of criticism, Dev offered to redistribute some tasks and arranged for Rohit to work from home when needed. But Dev also knew that compassion without accountability would not serve anyone. He set clear expectations and provided additional support, training sessions, mentorship, and regular check-ins. He was kind, but he was also firm about the standards that needed to be met. This approach reflected the Buddhist principle of compassionate wisdom, being kind without enabling, caring without compromising standards. They've learned that true compassion sometimes meant having difficult conversations, but always with the intent to help people grow. The transformation was gradual but remarkable. As team members felt supported rather than threatened, their performance began to improve. Priya's creativity flourished when she wasn't constantly worried about job security. Rohit's dedication doubled when he felt valued as a whole person, not just an employee. From the Upanishads, they've learned the principle of Ishavasyam, seeing the divine in every being. This taught him to treat each team member not as a resource to be exploited, but as a soul on their own journey, deserving of respect and support. When the quarterly results came in, Dev's team had not only met their targets but exceeded them. More importantly, the team's morale and cohesion had reached new heights. Vikram was impressed, but Dev knew the real victory was in the growth of his people. Dev realized that leadership, like the heroes in the Ramayana, wasn't about being perfect. Lord Rama himself faced impossible choices, but his commitment to dharma and his people never wavered. Sometimes the right path is the most difficult one. In the Ramayana, Rama's exile could have been seen as a failure, but it became an opportunity to serve others and uphold righteousness. Similarly, Dev's team's challenges became opportunities to practice compassionate leadership and create a more harmonious workplace. Months later, Dev was promoted to a senior leadership role. In his acceptance speech, he shared his learning. True leadership is not about commanding from above, but about lifting others up. It's about finding the dharmic way to be compassionate and the compassionate way to be effective. He continued, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna teaches us that we cannot avoid action, but we can choose the spirit in which we act. When we act with both duty and love, we create magic not just in results, but in the hearts of people. The audience was moved, but Dev's greatest joy came from seeing Priya and Rohit in the front row, both now thriving in their roles. They had been promoted too, not despite their challenges, but because of how they had grown through them with proper support. Dev's story spread through the organization. Other leaders began adopting similar approaches, seeing their teams as whole human beings, not just workers. The culture slowly began to shift from one of fear and competition to one of support and growth. This transformation reflected the Buddhist teaching of interdependence, that all beings are connected, and when we help others flourish, we ourselves are enriched. Dev had learned that being a leader wasn't about being above others, but about being of service to them. As Dev reflected on his journey, he understood that the greatest leaders in history, from Yudhishthira to Buddha to Gandhi, had all shared one quality: they led with both strength and compassion. They proved that power with love is more transformative than power alone. Dev's team continued to excel, but more importantly, they became a beacon of what was possible when leadership was rooted in ancient wisdom and modern understanding. People from other departments began requesting transfers to work with Dev's team. Years later, when Dev would mentor young leaders, he would always begin with the same question: do you see your team as obstacles to overcome or as people to uplift? The answer, he learned, determined not just success, but the kind of legacy one leaves behind. The timeless wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita had shown him that true leadership is karma yoga in action, performing one's duty with skill and compassion, without attachment to personal glory, but with deep commitment to the welfare of others. And in that understanding, they found the secret that Yudhishthira had discovered thousands of years ago, that dharma and compassion are not opposing forces, but two sides of the same divine coin. When we lead with both, we touch the eternal. Today, wherever you are in your leadership journey, remember Dev's story. Remember that every person you lead is fighting their own battles, carrying their own dreams. Your role is not to judge their struggles, but to help them transcend them. The path of the compassionate leader is not always easy, but it is always worth walking. For in lifting others, we ourselves are lifted. In serving others, we discover our own highest purpose. This is the eternal teaching of our scriptures, as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. Hare Krishna.